Welcome back to the Authentic Human podcast, where we explore consciousness, creation, existence, and evolution through conversations with universal beings. Why? Well, our intention is to restore sovereign intelligence in humanity. What does that mean? That means all of your ability to access and recognize the information that you want on a daily basis. There's a reason you have those questions. You're meant to have the answers, and you have the ability to get those answers instantaneously. Reality and truth, right? The reality to me isn't the real world. It's the illusion that we're living in, right? That's the reality. And it's not based on truth, right? It's based on the fact that we've been trained to think we're 2 and 3 dimensional beings in a 2 and 3 dimensional experience. There's a lot of people who talk about, fourth and fifth dimension, and they've reached the fifth dimension. If you've ascended to fifth dimension, then you have the capacity to time travel. You have the capacity to transcend time and space, and you have zero limitations in your physical representation. So if you haven't yet reached that level of awareness and ascension, you're still in physical representation, right? And so ultimately, this is, sorry, I should probably start at the beginning and let you know that this is part 116 of the story of creation. Okay, so this is a series we've been following. Following is a fascinating experience, but ultimately we've been following universal beings as they share universal truth, but the truth about human origins, the truth about existence, your history, okay? And they're sharing it very strategically in layers because they understand how the human mind has been manipulated, how the human mind has been trained to believe that reality is real and existence and the truth of existence is impossible. They've taught you that the truth of existence is ridiculous and you should laugh at it and you should disregard it at all costs. Why? Because those are your origins. When you understand who you are, nobody can control you. So instead of creating this massive war, right, they created an internal conflict within you. They didn't need to create a massive war to control humanity. All they needed to do was train your brain to believe that their system, the reality that has been created, is the real world. Right? And so you can, like, even as they're showing me, it's like that word reality itself is extremely misleading because it's not real. It's an illusion that's been created to ensure dogma, to ensure that your brain continues to act on the same principles that it has been taught since birth. Okay? So today, what the universal beings, so there's a lot of different beings as they share. If there's one that wants to, like Jesus is here, the creator is here, Gaia is here. We have a lot of different, a lot of different beings actually. Mary is here, so both actually, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and a lot of these beings are starting to show up now because what they're saying is the truth of their existence needs to also come out. We're not going to go deep today into Jesus' story. That will be a storyline that we continue once we've come to the place in the story of creation where it fits, because we're not there yet. And that's actually part of the problem, part of the challenge, is there's a lot of people who hold the truth of Jesus's existence as Saviour And he's using the word very specifically, as are a number of other beings. There's a lot of angels here, angelics, right? Angelics created human existence. They created matter in this universe, right? They created the planets, they created the stars, they created the energy that ensures that the planets stay in place, right? They created the solar system. So ultimately, it's, Jesus wants to express is the word he's using. So he wants to express that his life and his story is the way it's been told. Like, he's showing me the Bible, and he says the way it's been told is very misleading. And he's not. Here's the thing, guys. Like, universal beings don't have any judgment. They don't have any, like, he's just saying it's misleading, right? And he says, when this is very, I feel like this is going to be very poignant, but he says, when a human, okay, takes the book of Christ, which the book of Christ, he's being very specific with those words. So I'm not exactly sure what that means, but that's okay. When a human being takes the book of Christ and interprets it from their personal opinion. Now, what that means is from their story, from the experiences that they see in their community, in their life, around the world, right? Whether it's from the news, whether it's through social media, it doesn't matter. But when a human takes the book of Christ and interprets their opinion into it, through it, around it, and ultimately uses that book to define an aspect of universal existence, they're already, he says, it's a very dangerous, slippery slope, so to speak, because the book itself isn't based in truth. The book was based on personal perspectives of participants, similar to you would find someone at the head of a church who's leading a congregation. And what he says is, and this is the most important part, Jesus says, I live inside of you. I'm a part of you because his reason for existence, the energy that he came to hold in this universe. He didn't come into this universe. He was created in this universe to hold, right, the energy of compassion. Okay. Now, the challenge with humanity is humanity has twisted compassion to lead with pity, to feel sorry for people. And so what Jesus is saying and what he's sharing is he came in to hold the frequency and vibration of compassion. And his life, when he came into the physical life in this realm, if you will, this version of reality that we are all currently experiencing, when he came in, because he did, that's not an illusion, that's not false. He came into a physical life. He's had many physical lives, but his particular one as Jesus, which is why we call him Jesus in this world, that's not his universal name. Another, maybe shocking to you. But ultimately, his particular life as Jesus was intended to restore human consciousness, right? Our connection to consciousness, our connection to truth, and allow us to it was, his intention was to trigger the awakening. Okay. And what happened was it triggered a reaction in those who are choosing to control humanity. And so what they did is they created a book of rules on how people need to behave based on Saviour energy. Okay. And so Saviour energy it's like bait and switch, but it's also, I'm going to lie in wait. I'm going to wait. And that's what humanity has been taught to do, is we've been taught to react instead of participate. And this is where, you know, humanity is suffering significantly. But if you just start to look through your life, the experiences that you have, okay? So look at the things that about your life, that they're not yet how you want them to be, okay? And he wants you, well, the creator and Jesus are both here, as well as a number of other beings. So what they want you to do is, no, Jesus wants you to know it's coming right from him. So he says, feel this, okay? Feel the things you want, but you're waiting for. You're waiting because you think you'll do it when you have more time. Or you're waiting for someone else to give you permission. Or you're waiting for someone else to approve and give you money. Or you're waiting because you don't think you're good enough, but you will be one day. And the reality is that dynamic right there, that was strategically created through the energy of Jesus's journey here and how it was manipulated. Okay. So he didn't come to save humanity, and he certainly isn't coming back to save humanity, because that's not his role. There is no savior of humanity. You are the one who is meant to rise into your power, rise into your sovereign intelligence. And at the end of the day, in order for you to do that, you need to remove yourself from any beliefs that create that dogma, that belief that you're stuck, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. Because if you find yourself, right, using caveats like, I can't do this because, I can't do that because, all of those becauses, those are all the rules that you're living your life by. So you're not living aligned with truth and your potential and what you're meant to be doing in this life. You're living in alignment with why you can't do this, why you can't do that, why you should do this, and why this is going to have to wait. You see, humans aren't meant to wait. It's why we're so impatient when we've been told to wait, because we're not meant to. But the challenge is humans are impatient with other people. They want other people to give them the answers, to give them the resources, to give them the information, to give them the vision or permission. You see, humans, we're self-governing. Self-governing means you recognize the truth of who you are. You recognize that your life is in your hands, and you're meant to participate exactly how you know that you're going to fulfill the reason that you came into this life. It's like plugging into your soul purpose, your higher purpose, and participating from that place. And what Jesus is saying is, when they used him as a role model for what you're meant to be doing and how you're meant to be doing it, they created a dynamic of hero worship. They created a dynamic of, you're better than me, there's no way I could do that. They created a dynamic that says, how am I ever going to get there? I can't do what Jesus does. I can't do what he did. And so inside of you is a feeling of lost, loneliness, sometimes depression, and they're saying sometimes desolation. And that's a good thing. Because if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling depressed, that's really great, because you know something's off. You know something in the world that you're living in isn't right. And so what your mission is not to wait for someone to save you. for someone to tell you what's right and wrong. Your mission is to plug back into your purpose, to allow yourself to communicate not only with consciousness, but with all the universal beings that are meant to guide you, that are meant to offer you the wisdom you need in the moments you need it. You see, we have been taught as humans that the wisdom we need is someone telling us what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. But that's not how the universe works. That's not how you work. As universal beings, as souls in this universe, okay, your energy has the capacity to tap into, connect with, and retrieve information through energy, right? Consciousness is an energy. It's the history of human existence. So your ability, your innate ability is the word they're using, your innate ability to tap into that resource, okay, that's like your life force, right? It's the understanding that your capacity to connect with the universe and with consciousness and with the wisdom of your soul. So let me explain to you what the three differences is. That's what they want me to share. So consciousness is the history of everything that's ever happened in existence. So it continues to expand every single moment as new things occur. It's also why, right, we don't have to walk around with all this information and knowledge in our head. You just tap into it and you access it whatever you need it, whatever you need. So you don't have to carry anything. So why is that important? Because if your brain is empty, okay, you're not focused on remembering this and remember that and remember this, you have energy at your fingertips. You have immense amounts to access universal wisdom, to access information that you need, right? You can't do that if you have a whole bunch of stuff in your head. The second part is you as a soul in this universe, okay? So without getting too deep into this, because we have in so many of the previous parts of the story of creation, if you're interested, I highly, highly recommend you go back, you start at the beginning, you watch it. I know there's a lot of people who have done it more than one time because it is quite fascinating. And it is also in a podcast version on all major podcast platforms, if that's preferable to you to listen instead of watch. Either way, it's fantastic. So the second aspect, right? So we've got consciousness and then we've got souls. So the creation of souls is a very specific and strategic operation. That's the way it's the creator, but it's also the angelics, because the angelics and the creator are the ones who created human existence, humankind, if you will. But they had to create the concept of existence first. So first we had matter, and then then once there was matter, and then the second stream of angelics created experience. And so now we've got matter and experience, but we had no one to explore it, no one to test it out to see if it was good, and no one to participate in it so they could enhance it and expand it. Okay, so they created souls. Like billions and billions and billions of souls, okay? And they created a whole bunch. And then they went, okay, so now what are we going to do? Like, you have to, when I'm saying this, right, they're not creating from the human perspective out there in space. There were no humans yet. There were no physical realms yet. They created all of that. So you have to remove yourself from looking where you are up, right? And looking out at the universe. And you have to energetically pick yourself out and go into the universe and perceive this information from up there. That's the difference. That's why most people are so easily manipulated, is because they're inside of existence trying to get this information to come down and make sense from their perspective, right? That's the difference right now with those who are able to see the truth and awaken to it, if you will. versus those who are like, no, this is absolutely ridiculous, because they're trying to bring the information down and they're like, well, that makes sense, right? They're trying to have it make sense. And that's not how energy works, right? Because when the souls, okay, so you are a soul, but all universal beings have souls. So when they came to this place where now they have matter, now they have experience, right? So they're going to create souls. That wasn't the part where they had earth and they were creating humans to walk around. No, 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 we weren't there yet. We were way back over here in the universe with the concept of matter, okay? So matter is gases and minerals and all kinds of fascinating, aspects. And that experience was, how do we bring those aspects into existence to create water? How do we bring them to create air? How do we bring them to create rock and land and plants and trees and right? And then after all that, they created humanity. But the souls were already created before human physical um, representation was created. Okay, way before, because human physical representation is like the bottom of the food chain. And that's where your perspective needs to shift, because right now, humans, if you're walking around thinking humans are the top of the food chain and the top of the food chain in existence, this is why you're struggling. It's understanding that the physical representation of your soul, okay, as a human being, is in a state of turmoil. It's in a state of, it's like existential existence. It's like, why do I want to be here? Right? There's a lot of people walking around going, this is the last time I'm doing this. Like, I don't want to come back here. This sucks. Life sucks. It's hard. But that's the bottom of the food chain. And what I mean by that is it's understanding and recognizing that as a soul, your frequency and vibration first, your pure energy. And the entire universe works on the principle, okay? The principle of creation itself in this universe is intention becomes energy, becomes experience. You see how the angelics used it? I just explained it. Intention becomes energy, becomes experience. And so ultimately, the human physical experience is at its lowest frequency and vibration that it has ever been in the history of existence. Why? Because we've been taught to believe that society and civilized living, the civilization that we are currently addicted to, if you will, is our reality. And the truth is, the reality is existence is based on energy. It's not based on physical representation. If you had a full awareness and full concept of universal energy and how energy and frequency exist, then you would already know Jesus and his intentions. You would understand your relationship with him, and it has everything to do with compassion. He's not there to make you feel better and to say, oh, poor you, I can't believe you're going through this. That's horrible. No, he's like, look at the lesson. Look what you need to see, because the lesson is the wisdom. And he's the one that says, keep going. It's not keep going, I have your back. It's keep going, you have your back. That's what compassion is. Compassion is the strength and the ability to recognize that the universe is always going to give you the wisdom and the resources you need. It's your brain that says that wisdom and those resources are not available to me because, and all of your caveats again. Here's the thing. If you want more money, if you want a better relationship, if you want whatever it is that you want in your life. Okay. Doesn't matter. What matters is your intention isn't clear enough. That's why it's not happening. It's not because you don't deserve it and you feel like, the universe doesn't have your back. It's because your intention isn't clear enough. And that part where it's intention becomes energy, becomes experience. Well, that energy part is your belief in yourself and who you are and your ability to make that intention become your reality. It's effort. That's what that is. So what's happening is, if you want, let's say you want $10 million in the next week, it doesn't matter. It could be instantaneously. But if you don't put the effort of $10 million into it, it's not going to happen. And then your brain is like, okay, well, what about the person who wins the lottery? Okay, so let me tell you about the person who wins the lottery. From the energetic standpoint, okay? There's a whole bunch of different reasons that things like that happen. And things like that mean winning the lottery. It's understanding that human souls come in to participate in a variety of experiences to there's a word they're using, exercise free will. Okay. And so in order for humans to exercise free will, right? That's because that's what the universe is based on. That's why no truth can be hidden, because it's impossible, because the entire universe is based on free will. Okay. And so ultimately, when you're in a state of free will and you're in a state of universal awareness, you're here to participate in experiences that bring you joy, yes, but also bring you to a place where you have the capacity to expand universal existence. And the tricky part is, as humans, in the reality that we're living in, right? And when you're trying to get universal awareness to come down and make sense to you, your brain can't understand that what other people are doing is actually expanding consciousness. Because if your brain has decided, oh, that's not spiritual enough, oh, that's not, intelligent enough over here or over there, or whatever it is they're doing. If your brain has decided that the way they're doing something, it's too mundane, it's too normal. Well, that right there is why your dreams are not happening. Because energetically, your energy sucks, quite frankly. Because if you're in judgment of other people, okay, that's the energy that you're trying to fulfill your dreams and goals with. It's not going to work. They can't come to fruition because your energy isn't pure enough to hold your intention. You're not participating. You're complaining. You're whining. You're feeling pity and you're feeling sorry for yourself, why it won't work for you. So those people who win the lottery, who, things just seem to come together overnight, they're on a journey and their intention is pure. They had the purity of intention. And so your job isn't to go, well, how did they do it? I'm going to do what they did. Your job is to figure out how to purify your intentions so they align with what's going to bring you joy. Because here's the other thing, right? There's a lot of people who win the lottery and it ruins their life, right? And yet we still have billions of people wanting to win the lottery, right? It's understanding that humanity, right, has been taught to give our sovereignty away, if you will, right? That's that whole dynamic of Jesus coming here and it being manipulated created a false sense of security, a savior. It created the dynamic of the lottery system, gambling. The whole concept of gambling is based on I need someone to save me. That's why we do it. It's not just for fun. I'm just going to go for fun. It's not. It's entirely based on waiting for someone to save you. So when you can come back to that place where you recognize you don't need to be saved, you're an integral part of universal existence, and the universe is a foundational source for every single resource you need, whether it's money, whether it's love, whether it's time, whether it's natural resources, water, land, doesn't matter. Until you align yourself with the belief that you are 100% a part of universal existence, and your access to those resources are there to fulfill your reason for existence. Now, let me explain this, okay? This is very, very different than financial freedom. This is understanding what independent wealth is, because independent wealth is recognition that you're here to fulfill a mission, and the universe is here to offer you every resource you will need in abundance. It's unlimited. So your brain doesn't need to go, oh, well, I need this much money so I can pay them, and this, and I need to have these many people and this piece of property, and I need to be able to have this freedom time to do this. Here's the thing. The universe doesn't think like a business, doesn't think like a job, doesn't think like an executive or a CEO. The universe knows exactly who you are. It knows exactly what you need to fulfill your mission here. And I can tell you that anybody walking around spending 40 hours a week, working 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week, working, okay, is not yet in alignment with universal awareness. Because when you understand your essence is here to explore the universe, there is no such thing. There's no difference between work and living. It's all one. And you may have a work call, like I have podcast recordings, and I have classes, and I have courses and mentoring. But the reality is, it's who I am. And every single one of those experiences, when I'm here sharing this story, I'm learning at the same time you are. When I'm working with clients one-on-one, I'm learning at the same time my clients are. Why? Because I know that the universe offers me the clients that they know are ready to go to the level that I'm at. Period. And we go together because that is abundance. It's the same thing for the people who sign up for the courses that I'm offering, because they're universal wisdom. Not everybody's ready for that. But those who are, the ones that are there, the ones that show up, they're the ones whose questions take the experience deeper, take it further, expand it to its potential. That's universal abundance. That's independent wealth. It's understanding and recognizing that every aspect of our existence is being fed, is being nurtured. But our brains continue to come back to time and money, and the people that we need people to show up this way, and we need them to do these things. This is the dynamic that needs to shift and needs to change, because it's all of that savior. I need this money to save me or make this happen. I need these people in these positions to make this happen. I need whatever it is. I need these clients to do this. I need this and I need this. It doesn't work that way. It's understanding that human beings are strategically designed in alignment with universal abundance. You don't even understand what that means if you're still thinking in the realm of time and space and money. If you're still thinking about your existence based on any of those things, you're not at universal awareness yet. But you certainly have the potential to get there. That's what this is all about. Okay, we're going to keep going. If you're looking for a deeper experience, I highly suggest you check out our private community. Maybe it's the right fit for you. Maybe you want to start asking your questions. Maybe you want to start exploring the universe with a global community who has the courage to ask questions not everybody has the courage to ask, because you're genuinely ready to go. Maybe you want more. Maybe you want to actually restore your full sovereign intelligence. I have options for all of it. It's right there. In the meantime, let me know. Let me know about your relationship with Jesus. Maybe you have one. Maybe you've never thought about it. I know for me, I grew up as a child in the Catholic Church, and then I rebelled because it didn't feel right at all. But it wasn't that Jesus didn't feel right. It was the way it was taught, the way it was indoctrined, the way you had to participate in the church with ceremonies that didn't feel good, performed by somebody who didn't feel good, whose energy didn't feel good. And so ultimately, I came back to God. I came back to Jesus, not in a religious capacity whatsoever. I came home when I met them through frequency and vibration, through universal energy. I got the purity of who they are. And now our relationship, those relationships are rock solid. They show up not to when I need them and when I'm calling. They show up because I'm open to receiving their wisdom. I'm open to receiving the information that they have to share, not because I want anything from them. That is a universal relationship, right? Independent wealth is about recognition that the universe is always going to show up. But if you're not open to it because you're over here planning and strategizing how it all needs to happen in your financial freedom plan, that's why you can't get there. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. I'm Michelle Vickers. Bye for now.